Happy Tuesday. Just waiting for a few of you to come on so that we can talk. I'm very, very excited about tonight's topic because it was something that I just read an article about. So I thought, hey, I'd share with you. Happy Tuesday, Motherhood Doc, better known as Dr. Jamila. Thanks for joining. Just waiting for a couple of others and we will get started. It was a beautiful fall day here in Maryland. And I hope that those of you in the area got a chance to get out and enjoy it. If you are not on the East Coast, I hope that the weather is good where you are, even though I know that there is a hurricane brewing right now. So for those of you that are in its wake, please be safe. All right. Well, happy Tuesday again. I am Dr. Terralon, your board certified family physician, speaker, author, and career transition coach. Through my book and through my coaching programs, I help medical professionals find careers that allow them freedom, flexibility, and financial independence. You can follow me on all social media at Dr. Terralon. That's DrTerralon. Again, that's DrTerralon. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. I am so excited that you're here. I just learned a new term and I thought I would share it with you because I read an article about it and I thought, this is interesting. So I want to know what you think. And the term is quietly quitting, or the better question is, are you a quiet quitter? And if you haven't heard that term, that's okay. It's something that came about during the pandemic that merely describes someone who does just the bare minimum at their jobs. And we'll talk about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But again, the term is quiet quitter. Are you a quiet quitter? Are you someone who does just what the job description says? Do you establish those professional boundaries? That's the question tonight. So when I saw that article, I thought, okay, let me read it. Let me read a couple more about it. And apparently this has been a trend that's been going on since the pandemic, when people were reprioritizing things in their lives, prioritizing family, prioritizing their mental and physical health. And so it's really important to talk about this because there is a such thing as totally quitting and resigning from your job, but also staying there, but being disengaged. And that's what recent studies have shown. So I'll read to you. A Gallup poll recently, as recent as June of last year, showed that about only 32% of people are engaged in their job. That means those are the people who are showing up, ready to work, doing everything, and even going beyond. Those are the people who are fully engaged. What was also surprising was 18% of people in that same study, in that same poll, are actively disengaged, meaning they are barely there. They are showing up, but they're also talking about the things they really dislike about the job and are at risk for leaving. The quiet quitters are the people in between. So you have those that are engaged. That's the 32% of people who are engaged. So only a third of the people at your job are likely to be fully engaged and do what they're required and even a little more. Then you have those that are actively disengaged, who may not talk about it at work, but may even talk about it on social media or outside of the job, that they really don't like what they're doing. They're considering looking at other outlets. And then you have those in the middle who are called the quiet quitters, who are saying, hey, this is what I was paid to do. This is exactly what I'm going to do. No more or no less. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about whether you're a quiet quitter. What are the characteristics of a quiet quitter? So let me just ask you, do you, and you don't, everything that shows up here is, online. I want you to engage, but you don't have to answer if you are a quiet quitter. But it's important to recognize. So here are the characteristics. Do you show up to the job and say, I am only doing, that is not part of my job description. I know you've heard that. That is not part of my job description. That is one characteristic of a quiet quitter. Another characteristic might be someone who says, you know what, I'm going to do the job, I'm going to do it well, but I am closing my computer at 5 o'clock. I am leaving this building. I cannot be contacted. Those are the people who will not have their work emails forwarded to their phones or their work calls forwarded home. They have established a clear boundary. Another thing is this person or a quiet quitter may be willing to go above and beyond, but they may only if you pay them. Only if you pay them, which, says a lot. So it may be that, hey, they've recognized their worth and they say, okay, I'm willing to do it, but I want to be paid for the work. So then my question to you is, even though this term is more of a misnomer, quiet quitter, because the person hasn't actually physically left the job, they've sort of, in some people's opinions, they've established professional boundaries, meaning these are people who used to go above and beyond, but have decided no more. You're not getting more than is required of me. In your opinion, is that a bad thing? Now you can answer there. All right. So let's talk about what we can do to combat quiet quitting if you think it's a bad thing. So if you think it's a bad thing, it's important to recognize it in yourself and then reevaluate and say, hey, is this truly where I want to be? Is this job helping me? Is it fulfilling me in any way? Am I just here to pay the bills? If that is only what you need, then it may be okay. But if you have the opportunity, it's also time to evaluate whether it's time to move on to another opportunity that is more fulfilling, that will not affect your mental or physical health or interfere with family priorities. So those are what you should do if you discover that you are a quiet quitter. If you are an employer or an organization that has recognized less engagement from your employees, you recognize you have this block of quiet quitters, then here's what you should do. One, make sure you are allowing some flexibility. A lot of Gen Zers have voiced in studies and on social media and elsewhere that they need flexibility. They're also looking for opportunities to advance. In fact, one study from the UK showed that half the people they interviewed, which was over 1,000, half the people they interviewed would actually take a 10% pay cut if they knew they had a more interesting career path ahead of them at that job, and if they knew that job would allow them to learn new skills. So that's if you're in a place, if you're a supervisor, a boss, or anyone in charge that can make changes. Also, creating a space, whether it's a hybrid work environment, whether you're totally in person or remote, creating that space for your employees to collaborate safely and where they feel safe. So we know that the pandemic has allowed people to be more virtual. So if you are working in a virtual or hybrid environment, you have to get creative. Happy hour is no longer the standard for getting together after work. So as an employer or a boss, you can create virtual coffee breaks. Also, don't forget to just simply say thank you or have still celebrate people's birthdays or give them personal shout outs. So those are the things that people are looking for to feel more appreciated. So I'm asking you, and I'm putting that question out there. Forgive me if I don't see any of the comments. I don't see any yet, but I want to know what you think about quietly quitting. Do you think that this term really is unfair to those who have decided they are establishing those professional boundaries? Now, some folks may say, well, at least at most jobs, there is an amount of work that's required to go above and beyond to get the work done. It may not be exactly in the job description. So yes, it's not such a good thing. But then there are those people who said, hey, the pandemic has taught us that family and mental and physical health are our priorities. So yes, this quiet quitting is not such a bad thing. So I want to know what you think. I want to know what you think. And while you guys are thinking about what you're going to put now that you've learned this new term or we've revisited it for some, then I'm going to just say hello to some people. I see. Oh, Dr. Sin, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining from North Carolina. Anybody else have any thoughts on quiet quitting? I thought it was a very, very interesting term. And then I started thinking, well, am I quietly quitting? Am I collaborating more? Am I doing more than my job asked me to do? Am I finding those things even outside that may be outside of my team? Am I working outside to make, to enhance, say, the patient experience, or for you, maybe the customer experience or the client experience? So let's see if we have any more comments. Again, we're talking about quietly quitting. And I don't see anything. I'll check again as I get off, but a really quick talk tonight. Didn't want to take any more of your time. Remember that you can get my book at a couple of places, drterralon.com. You can go and contact me there, or kissmedicinegoodbye.com. And I have to say, it is not encouraging anyone to quit medicine or quit their job. It's simply an introspection about if you need to change careers to fit you. These are the things that I've suggested or I've encountered. Yay, we have a comment from Dr. Jamila. So Dr. Jamila said, I believe some boundaries are necessary in a professional environment. And I thank you for that comment, Dr. Jamila. A lot of people truly think that even if you want to get more engagement out of the employee, allow them to establish those boundaries. And eventually, once they feel that those boundaries are respected, then you'll get more engagement from them later. Let's see, any more comments? I really do thank you guys for joining tonight. Every time I learn something, I want to share it with you, and hopefully you've learned something that will, make your professional experience, your career journey just a little bit easier. So that's my goal. And with that, I think I don't see any more comments. So I just want to, again, thank you. I'm Dr. Terralon, your board-certified family physician, speaker, author, and career transition coach. Through my book and through my coaching programs, I help medical professionals find careers that allow them freedom, flexibility, and financial independence. You can follow me for any career tips at Dr. Terralon. That's DrTerralon. So thank you to everyone on Instagram. Thank you to everyone on YouTube. And thank you to everyone on LinkedIn. Have a great, great night.